Shalom, brothers and sisters. I wanted to share with you some more scripture on tribulation. Um, this is in Mark chapter 13. I'm going to start with verse 1. Probably read the whole chapter because, I like to get the context. Especially with the first scripture I share. It's like the main one right here, so. Okay. And as he went out of the Mikdash, one of his Talmudim said to him, Teacher, see what stones and what buildings? And Yahushua answering said to them, Do you see these great buildings? Not one stone shall be left upon another at all, which shall not be thrown down. And as he sat on the Mount of Olives opposite the Mikdash, Kepha and Yaakov and Yehonan and Andri asked him separately, Say to us, when shall these be? And what shall be the sign when all this is going to be accomplished? And Yahushua began to say to them, Take heed that no one lead you astray. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am he. And they shall lead many astray. And when you hear of fightings and reports of fightings, do not be troubled. It has to take place. But the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation, and reign against reign. There shall be earthquakes in various places. There shall be scarcities of food and disturbances. These are the beginning of birth pains. But take heed to yourself, for they shall deliver you up to councils and to congregations. You shall be beaten. You shall be brought before rulers and sovereigns for my sake, for a witness to them. The good news has to be proclaimed first to all the nations. And when they lead you away and deliver you up, do not worry beforehand what you are to say, but whatever is given to you in that hour speak that. For it is not you who are speaking, but the Ruach HaKodesh. And brother shall deliver up brother to death, and a father his child, and the children shall rise up against parents, and shall put them to death. And you shall be hated by all because of my name, but he who shall have endured to the end, he shall be saved. And when you see the abomination that lays waste, spoken of by Daniel the Navi, put up where it should not be, he who reads let him understand. Then let those who are in Yehuda flee to the mountains. And he who is on the housetop, let him not go down to the house, nor come in to take whatever out of his house. And he who is in the field, let him not go back to get his cloak. And woe to those who are pregnant, and to those nursing children in those days. And pray that your flight does not take place in winter. For in those days there shall be distress, such as not has been from the beginning of creation, which Elohim created until this time, nor ever shall be. And if the Adon had not shortened those days, no flesh would have been saved. But because of the chosen ones whom he chose, he shortened the days. And if anyone then says to you, Look, here is Hamashiach, or look, there, do not believe it, for false messiahs and false prophets shall arise, and show signs and wonders to lead astray, if possible, even the chosen ones. And you, take heed. See, I have forewarned you of it all. But in those days, after the distress, the sun shall be darkened, the moon shall not give its light, and the stars of the Shemaim shall fall, and the powers in the Shemaim shall be shaken. Then they shall see the Ben of Adam coming in the clouds with much power and esteem. And then he shall send his messengers, and assemble his chosen ones from the four winds, from the farthest part of the earth to the farthest part of the Shemaim. And learn this parable from the fig tree. When its branch has already become tender and puts forth leaves, you know that summer is near. So you also, when you see these taking place, know that it is near at the door. Truly I say to you, this generation shall by no means pass away till all this takes place. The Shemaim and the earth shall pass away, but my word shall by no means pass away. But concerning that day and the hour no one knows, not even the messenger in the Shemaim, nor the Ben, but only the Father. Take heed, watch and pray, for you do not know when the time is. As a man going abroad, having left his house and given authority to his servants, and to each his work, and commanded the doorkeeper to watch. Watch therefore, for you do not know when the master of the house is coming, in the evening, or at midnight, or at the crowing of the cock, or in the morning, lest coming suddenly he should find you sleeping. And what I say to you, I say to all, watch. Okay, so that was the first one. That's in Mark 13. And I'll tell you this again because it's going to be, this is the King James. It's not mine, it belongs to my mother-in-law, actually, borrowing it. But in Mark chapter 13, that is similar to Matthew 24. It's got a lot of similarities. It's a different viewpoint. Some things are not in this one that are in the other one, and vice versa. Let me get to the right page here. Okay. Verse 24, when it says, "But in those days after that tribulation, the sun shall be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light." See? And this one said in 24, it says, "But in those days after the distress, the sun shall be darkened, and the moon shall not give its light." About like the same thing with the other one. But you kind of get a gist of what I'm kind of trying to say here. We will suffer tribulation. More scripture. 1 Peter 4. This might be just a lot of, not a bunch, but a decent amount of scripture here. I'm going to give you maybe 4 more verses. And I'm not going to read them all in the, not verses, but passages. I'm not reading the entire chapter. I'm telling you, you need to read in context. Read the chapter. I'm doing this, I don't want to make these videos too long. Yeah, it's something that I don't want to do because there's no point in having a long video unless I've got, I can split them up, and that will give it. I know I've been making kind of long ones lately, but I'm going to try to watch my time more, manage my time more too. Chapter 4 of 1 Peter, starting with verse 12. "Beloved ones, do not be surprised at the fiery trial that is coming upon you to try you, as though some unusual matter has befallen you. But as you share Mashiach's suffering, rejoice, in order that you might rejoice exultingly at the revelation of his esteem. If you are reproached for the name of Mashiach, Baruch, because the Ruach of esteem and of Elohim rest upon you. On their part he is blasphemed, but on your part he is praised. For do not let any of you suffer as a murderer or thief or doer of evil or as a meddler, but in being Mashiachim," yeah, I can't say that. That's a hard one to say. "But followers of the Messiah, let him not be ashamed, but let him esteem Elohim in this matter, because it is a time for judgment to begin from the house of Elohim. And if firstly from us, what is the end of those who do not obey the good news of Elohim? And if the righteous one is scarcely saved, where shall the wicked and the sinner appear? So then those who suffer according to the desire of Elohim should commit their lives to a trustworthy Creator in doing good." Okay, there's another one. The next chapter over, 1 Peter chapter 5, and verses 8 through 11. "Be sober, watch, because your adversary the devil walks like a roaring lion seeking someone to devour. Resist him, firm in the belief, knowing that the same hardships are experienced by your brotherhood in the world. And the Elohim of all favor, who called you to his everlasting esteem by Messiah Yahusha, after you have suffered a while, himself perfect, established, strengthened, and settled you. To him be the esteem and might forever and ever. Amen." Okay. Now, 1 Thessalonians chapter 4. And verse 13. I have it wrote down. I have sloppy handwriting. Yeah, 13. Yeah. Now, brothers, we do not want you to be ignorant concerning those who have fallen asleep, lest you be sad as others who have no expectation. For if we believe that Yahushua died and rose again, so also Elohim shall bring him those who sleep in Yahushua. For this we say to you by the word of the Adon, that we living who are left over at the coming of the Adon shall in no way go before those who are asleep. Because the Adon himself shall come down from the Shamayim with a shout, with the voice of a chief messenger, with the trumpet of Elohim, and the dead in Mashiach shall rise first. Sorry, my throat's a little sore. Then we, the living who are left over, shall be caught away together with him in the clouds to meet the Adon in the air. So shall we always be with the Adon. So, okay, I wanted to read that one. And then 2 Thessalonians chapter 2. And I'm going to start at verse 1, of course. Okay, here we go. As to the coming of the Adon Yahushua HaMashiach and our gathering together in him, we ask you, brothers, do not become easily unsettled in mind or troubled, either by spirit or by word or by letter, as if it is from us, as if the day of Yahuwah has come. Let no one deceive you in any way, because the falling away is to come first, the man of lawlessness, is to be revealed, the son of destruction, who opposes and exalts himself above all that is called Elohim, or that is worshipped, so that he sits as Elohim in the Mishkan of Elohim, showing himself that he is Elohim. Do you not remember that I told you this while I was still with you? And now you know what restrains for him to be revealed in his time. For the secret of lawlessness is already at work, only until he who now restrains comes out of the midst. Then the lawless one shall be revealed, whom the Adon shall consume with the ruach of his mouth, and bring to naught with the manifestations of his coming. The coming is against the working of Satan, with all his power and signs and wonders of falsehood, and with all deceit of unrighteousness, in those perishing, because they did not receive the love of the truth in order for them to be saved. And for this reason, Elohim sends them a working delusion for them to believe the falsehood. And for this, I'm going to read that again. And for this reason, Elohim sends them a working delusion for them to believe the falsehood. That's verse 11. Okay? In order that all should be judged who did not believe the truth, but have delighted in the unrighteousness. But we ought to give thanks to Elohim always for you, brothers, beloved by Adon, because Elohim from the beginning chose you to be saved, in Kodeshah of Ruach, and belief in the truth, unto which he called you, by our good news, for the attaining of esteem of our Adon Yahushua HaMashiach. So that brothers stand fast and hold the traditions which you were taught, whether by word or by letter, and that our Adon Yahushua HaMashiach himself, and our Elohim and Father, who has loved us, has given us everlasting encouragement and good expectation through favor. Encourage your hearts and establish you in every good word and work. Okay, I think I might read one more. How about Deuteronomy? Deuteronomy chapter 4. In verse 23. Go. Guard yourselves, let you forget the covenant of Yahuwah your Elohim, which he made with you, and shall make for yourselves a carved image in any likeness of Yahuwah, in any likeness Yahuwah your Elohim has commanded you. For Yahuwah your Elohim is a consuming fire, a jealous El. When you bring forth children and grandchildren, and shall grow old in the land, and shall do corruptly, and make a carved image in any likeness, shall do what is evil in the eyes of Yahuwah your Elohim to provoke him. And I shall call the Shemaim and the earth to witness against you on that day, that you soon completely perish from the land which you possess over the Yarden to possess. You do not prolong your days in it, but you are completely destroyed. And Yahuwah shall scatter you among the peoples, and you shall be left few in number among the Gentiles, where Yahuwah drives you. And there you shall serve mighty ones, and the work of man's hands, wood and stone, which neither see, nor hear, nor eat, nor smell. But from there you shall seek Yahuwah your Elohim, and shall find, when you search for him with all your heart, and with all your being, in your distress, when all these words shall come upon you in the latter days. Then you shall return to Yahuwah your Elohim, and shall obey his voice. For Yahuwah your Elohim is compassionate El. He does not forsake you, nor destroy you, nor forget the covenant of your fathers, which he swore to them. Yeah. So, what I'm trying to get here, trying to, not get y'all to understand, is that there's so many totally, there's so many scriptures about us having to go through a period of distress, of trouble, tribulation, or whatever you want to call it. And I've just, throughout my walk and going to different assemblies and just hearing about the rapture coming before the tribulation and trying to find scripture to support that, and it's hard. I can't, you'd have to nitpick itty bitty little maybe a verse or two and not read it in context to even explain that side of it. I'm not here to argue. I'm just here to share scripture and my belief. And I want y'all's input if you have scripture to share your scripture. If you have questions, I'll do my best to answer them. And if I do, usually when I answer a question, I try to answer it with scripture, because I feel like that's that's the closest to truth I can get to coming out of my mouth. Truth is scripture is truth. So, and there's so many things that's gone on, I don't know, in the assemblies, so many different doctrines that are not scriptural. And I just want to bring the truth to the light. I don't want people to be led astray. I want my brothers and sisters to know the truth. I want them to seek it for themselves. I want y'all to read the scriptures. And like I said before, I really, when it comes to the different translation, there's a couple that I would definitely not recommend. One would be the Message. And NIV, some versions of the NIV, some passages, large passages of scripture are missing. I'm like, where'd that go? And why is that not in there? A lot of it has to do with I know the one in Mark. I'll actually read that to you. I know this doesn't have to do with the tribulation, but it's something that we need to have during the tribulation, I'll tell you that. I think I've read this too before, but oh well. It doesn't hurt to read it again. Okay. This is chapter 16 of Mark. And when the Shabbathoth had passed, Miriam from Magdala, and Miriam of Yaakov, and Shaloma, I guess, brought spices to go and anoint him. And very early morning, on one of the Shabbathoths, they came to the tomb when the sun had risen. And they said among themselves, "Who shall roll away the stone from the entrance of the tomb for us?" And looking up, they saw that the stone had been rolled away, for it was extremely large. And having entered into the tomb, they saw a young man sitting on the right, wearing a white robe, and they were greatly alarmed. And he said to them, "Do not be alarmed. You seek Yahusha, of Nazareth, who was impaled. And he is raised. He is not here. See the place where they laid him. And go, say to his Talmudim and Kepha, that he is going before you into Galilee. You shall see him there, as he said to you." And they went out and fled from the tomb, and were trembling and bewildered. And they spoke to no one, for they were afraid. And having risen in the morning on one of the Shabbaths, he appeared first to Miriam from Magdala, from whom he cast out 7 demons. And she went and reported to those who had been with him, mourning and weeping. And when they had heard that he was alive, and he had been seen by her, they did not believe. And after this he appeared in another form to 2 of them, as they walked and went into a field. And they went and reported it to the rest, but they did not believe them either. Later he appeared to the 11 as they sat at the table, and he reproached their unbelief and hardness of heart, because they did not believe those who had seen him after he was raised. And he said to them, "Go into all the world and proclaim the good news to every creature. He who has believed and has been immersed shall be saved, but he who has not believed shall be condemned. And these signs shall accompany ones who believe. In my name they shall cast out demons. They shall speak with renewed tongues. They shall take up snakes. And if they drink anything deadly, it shall by no means hurt them. They shall lay hands on the sick, and they shall get well." Then indeed, after the Adon had spoke to them, he was received up into the Shamayim, and sat down at the right hand of Yahuwah. And they went out and proclaimed it everywhere, while the Adon worked with them, and confirmed the word through the accompanying signs. Amen. So that, I think it's like, I don't know, it's different in the other versions. I don't have one with me. I just noticed before when I had an NIV that was missing. No, not all of them. Some of them have it, some of them don't. But yeah, I thought that was interesting, and I wanted to share that with you. And a lot of people are afraid of that, this speaking in tongues part. A lot of them say, "Oh, it's demonic," and then they say like, and it's like, it's interesting because like that's what they said about Yahusha when he was doing. They were saying, "Oh, he casts out demons by the power of Beelzebub," and stuff like that. And it's like, I just say, study your word and seek Yah's face. Ask him what his word is saying to you. Don't just go by what you feel like it says. Our feelings, our hearts. I'm have to do a video on the heart. Definitely have to do a video on the heart. Might be in the next week or something, because I still have this to do. I just laid this on my heart. But not in the sense where, like, I don't know. When you have the Ruach, your heart, it transforms your heart. And it's like you want what he wants. And not always, I mean, not all the time, but a lot of times. Like, it's, like, I'm going to still want things that I want, you know, but, like, when it comes to, like, stuff like this, I know what I'm saying, like, when it comes to scripture, when it comes to sharing my faith, and when it comes to wanting to, like, save the world, basically, wanting to help get the word out, the gospel out, the good news to the world. That is something, when you have the Ruach HaKodesh, that's what you want. That's a desire that you have. And that's Yah's will. His will is that all men be saved. But we have free will. We decide what we want. If we want to dedicate our life to serving Him, or if we want to just do our own thing, or what everybody else is doing. It's basically their own thing, what they want to do. So, I just want to share those passages with you, and I hope this helps someone. Heaven rejoices when one soul is led to salvation, when one soul is saved. So, if this video only reaches one person and they're listening, have eyes to see and ears to hear, then that would be a blessing. And I just want to continue to pray for everyone that's watching, even those that aren't. I just pray for this world because it's getting darker and darker. And we don't have much time. We really don't. And if you don't see that, I pray that you get in the Word. Seek Yah with your whole heart. Seek His face, Yahuwah. And just continue to pray. Have fellowship with other believers. And just focus on you. Focus on what's in your life that needs to be given to Yah. Meaning, okay, if you struggle with, you have different vices, like some people smoke, some people drink, some people just like me. Okay, I was so much like obsessed with the physical aspect of a relationship. And it was like something I'd say I was addicted to, not just the act or whatever, but also the attention. I've always been addicted to the attention of wanting someone to pay attention to me, basically. And now it's like, it's far from me now, because still, I like having attention, but it's not like how it used to be, like where I was like, okay, I'm just gonna do this in order to get attention, and don't care how it affects other people, and how it affects myself even. Like, I was just like, I wanted this, and I would do, like, okay, for example, okay, when I was in middle school, and I was really, like, coming of age, so to speak, I guess, and, like, I would dress a certain way to get attention. So, that is something that I've given to Yah, and I don't dress that way anymore. I try to be more, I cover myself more. Like, when I was younger, I was more where I wanted to show off what, that phrase, you got it, flaunt it, or whatever. Yeah. Don't listen to that. That's definitely not scripture. But we should dress modestly. That's something, and I will I'm going to touch on those subjects too. I've got a lot of videos to make. But I just pray that all of you are doing well and that you have, you're walking in the light of Yahusha HaMashiach, the Son of Yahuwah, the truth, the way. And I pray that you will continue to read the scriptures and let Yahuwah lead you to the truth. And he will reveal to you what the Ruach is saying to the assemblies. We are the assemblies. We are the children of Yahuwah. We are those that choose to follow his commands. If you're not following his commands, you need to examine your life. What do you need to get rid of? Whether it be an addiction, something that you do that's contrary to Scripture, what Scripture tells you. And I just pray for this world. I really do. And this the country I'm living in, the United States of America. I pray for all of the countries, but in all the leaders. And I pray for, I'm not going to say world peace, because that's not obtainable without Yahusha. Like when Yahusha comes back, that's when we'll have world peace. That's in Scripture. It's going to get worse. That's all I'm going to say. It's in Scripture. It's going to get worse. We're in the birth pains. We are inching towards we're going to have some difficult times. And if you're not walking in the way, it's going to be even harder. It's going to be hard as it is. But if you don't have the Ruach, and especially the Ruach HaKodesh, the set-apart breath of Yahuwah in Acts, is so important. This tribulation, we're in the tribulation. If you don't see that, I pray that you do. We don't have much time. Don't be afraid, though. Don't be afraid. There's nothing, we do not need to fear. Fear is just a weapon of the adversary to use against us. He uses that against us. It's like he feeds on fear. Scripture, Yahuwah didn't give us a spirit of fear, but of love, power, and a sound mind. He doesn't want us to be afraid of everything and everyone. That's what they want. The people that are pulling the strings. And Hasatan, that's definitely what he wants. But what I really recommend right now is, for one, okay, I know people are going to say, oh, you're crazy, you're too, I don't know how to explain it, but television is not helpful. It's permissible. It's one of those permissible, but not beneficial. I can't even I turn on the TV, I can't even watch it a couple minutes without seeing some form, fashion, or some blatantly satanic symbolism is all over. I'm sure you've seen the eye and all that, and with the OK symbol, which represents the 3 6s, and just like, there's so much, and it's sickening. Like, I don't know. I just know that it's hard to actually find, unless maybe if you watch like the older shows, maybe. I try not to watch a lot of TV. I know it's not beneficial, especially the news. So much negativity. Now, and it's breeding so much fear and hate. And it shouldn't be that way. Like, especially the news, which, there's even people learning in not high school, about college. In college, they have, like, courses people study on stuff, and they mention about the propaganda in the news, and how throughout history, countries have used media to influence the masses, and how it's not just, like, it's not just those other countries. Like, our country does it too. Like, with all this stuff with the president and the impeachment and everything, it's just like, what's going on? He's a puppet. That president he's a puppet. He's an actor, for one. He was on WWEF, whatever, the wrestling. Like, they're known for, like, all that stuff, so much evil, so much, the symbol, like, you can see the symbols all over. Yeah, but I don't recommend watching that either. Definitely not for children, although they're gearing things to. There's a character on there. My friend Nate, he told me about this. He actually showed me this. He's called the Fiend. His mask was like, they create it was a Slipknot. They're like some kind of, like, acid rock, but I don't know, something like that. And they sing, like, growling and stuff, like, kind of like the music I used to listen to when I was younger. But they developed this mask for him. But he, like, comes out his entrance, like, he's carrying a severed head. Yeah. And his name is the Fiend, which you could just do a Google search and find out Fiend is a demon. And also an adversary, or, like, a person that opposes you, or whatever. Like, okay, like, Joker is Batman's Fiend. He's, like, not his friend. He's his enemy. But a Fiend is a demon. And he is not hiding that fact at all. He's, like, very blatantly satanic. There's a lot of that going on, especially in the music industry, too. Which, I'm not going to get into that right now. Just, like I said before, be careful, little eyes, what you see. Be careful, little ears, what you hear. All of this is permissible, but not all is beneficial. If you want to be walking on the straight and narrow, then I suggest you steer clear of all that mess. Just focus on His Word. And, like, when it comes to all this mess going on, the best thing to do is just pray. Stay in prayer. Stay in the Word. Stay having fellowship with other believers. If you can't find someone, then, like, someone that is a follower of the way, which I'm not just talking about someone that says, oh, I'm a Christian. I go to church every Sunday, Wednesday. Yeah, I was there too. I was going to church Sunday, Wednesday, whenever the door was open. It didn't make me a Christian. Just because you're in a car, in a garage, doesn't make you a car. Just because you're in a church building does not make you a Christian. A follower of the way. Just because you are going to an assembly does not make you a follower of the way. It's a decision you have to make. That it's a sacrifice of your life in the way you live it, not in the way, like, that you're actually, like, dying, but you will eventually die. Everyone does. But it's, like, more where you are, it's a daily sacrifice of yourself. Like, okay, of course, like a child, when they go to, like, a store and they see something, I want this. We are, okay, pictures like that child. We want a certain thing. But what is the consequence of this thing? Like, following after these. Okay, here's an example. Okay, celebrities. People will be like, go out and just like that. Mainly the thing that we'll talk about is like a person when they are like they're like a fan of a celebrity, basically, and they'll like go to like crazy extremities just to like, I mean, pay a lot of money just to go see like a performer. And then what are they getting from that? Okay, an artist that is singing about worldly things, about things that we shouldn't even. I mean, it's sad that this is on the radio, that children have access to this. Like, all they have to do, turn on the radio and they hear this, and it's like, but that's the world we live in. And turn on TV, it's right in front. And like, I remember when I was younger, we didn't have all these, like, usually like the advertisements geared towards adults with like adult subjects and stuff were not on during the day. They were at nighttime, like after the children had went to sleep. Just like a lot of the shows were not on during the day. They were at night. So if you were a child, you wouldn't be exposed as much to all this stuff unless your parents let you stay up late and watch all of it. But yeah. And it's like, and yeah, they have like parental controls on the TVs and stuff like that. But the children now know how to bypass those things. Like, a lot of them are a lot smarter than we give it credit for when it comes to those, like, technology and stuff. And I'm really praying for this generation coming up, because they're so confused. So much confusion. So much. And then all they see, like, you wake up in the morning and usually people want to get the weather on the news. And that's mainly the reason I watch news, for weather. When it comes to all the terror, like, oh, I can't even, like, I have a 7-year-old and a 12-year-old. 12-year-old, I mean, he kind of understands what's going on and everything, and I've, like, if they ask me, like, okay, Mom, so, what, okay, I want to play this game, okay, say they want to play a game, and they're like, okay, my oldest son, his friends at school, and him too, they like the Five Nights at Freddy's series. Now, I don't let him play that. He's not allowed to. This happened like a while back. We was having fellowship. We was in service, in assembly. And he was writing the lyrics to the song during the sermon. And I didn't know what it was. I had no clue what this thing was. And I read it, and I can't remember the verse, but it was creepy. It was like something about come with me to the darkest corner of the room or darkest room in the house, something like that, and your parents aren't home, and I don't know, it's weird, but it's like, what is this, Nathan? What are you writing? I mean, like, just reading it was like, what the heck is this? It sounded like, I don't know. Now, there's another game, and if you, okay, everybody's heard of Minecraft. That's one I don't really care for either, but it's like one of the, I mean, it's kind of like Legos, and they're building with blocks. I prefer them to play Legos, even though still, I'd rather them read scripture, but I mean, he's a child. Let him be a child. I try to instill, I try to read, I read to them every day, and I try to get them to listen to me. And sometimes it seems like they're not, but a lot of times they are. And I hear, like, I'll be talking to someone, and my younger son, he'll say something, and I'm like, oh wow, you were listening. Like, about scripture and whatnot. But just, if you have children, I recommend read them the scripture. And even if it's just like a chapter a day, it's better than them getting. And then, like, not just that, not just reading them scripture, but ask them questions, and kind of like be like a teacher to them, in the sense where they can feel free to ask you questions about if they don't understand something, and just like, while throughout the day when they're with you, like if they're homeschooled, of course they'll be with you all the time. If they're in school, you'll see them when they get out of school, like when they get out home and they want to eat, like usually they want a snack. So when they're eating their snack, sit down with them, talk about their day, and be like, okay, so how does it, like, kind of like try to incorporate Yahuwah's way in your conversations with them. Children are highly influenced, like, and this is the time that, like, when they're children, they're soaking up everything as like a sponge, and this is the best time to be reading to them, is to train up a child in the way it should go, and when it's older, it should not flee from it. We need to be sharing our faith with our children, sharing the scripture with our children. And I know a lot of it is, I mean, some things you're going to have to explain to them, and depending on their age, like, okay, I wouldn't tell my 7-year-old, like, I'll tell him, like, if it's something to do with a physical relationship and having babies, stuff like that, I'll be like, well, when you get a little older, I'll let you know. Right now, you're still young. There's still time for you to grow. And this is something that you're not ready to know about. And I'll explain them that. Now, when it comes to other things, like, okay, when I'm reading in scripture and it's talking about all the sacrifices in, like, the Old Testament, when they're sacrificed, and they're like, Mommy, why did they do that? It's like, well, in them times, that was what Yahuwah had commanded them to do. But Yahusha came, and that's done away with, because he was the ultimate sacrifice. He was the ram in the thicket, like with Abraham and Isaac or Isaac. But you'll be surprised. Like, I love talking to children because their minds are just so, I don't know how to explain it. They have so many questions. They're so inquisitive, and they have such wild imaginations. And I love it. And I love just speaking to them. And I love children. Now, I'll admit, my own children can sometimes irk me. But, they're a blessing. And it's something that goes along with that blessing. And that's one thing that I struggle with too, is my patience. Now, I've got to work on it. And I don't like praying for patience, because it usually puts me in a situation where I definitely have to be patient. But I've learned a lot lately, just like from experience, like going through a lot of things. And I just know that I know my children. I know I'm bringing them up in the right way. I just know. And now I've had opposition, even from my mother and my sister and other people in my life, where, why don't you let them be children? Why don't you let them watch? Like, I'm pretty strict when it comes to what I let my children watch on TV, and I don't like them watching a lot of TV because it's not good for them. And I really didn't want my older son to have a phone, but my sister gave it to him, and even though she did not ask me, but it is what it is. I just, there's so much, and then that's one of the things. When I got a hold of my son's phone, he had that game on there. I deleted the game. I took the phone away, and I told him, I grounded him for a week from it. I took the phone for a week, and I was like, if I find this again, I'm going to take the phone, and I'm going to give it back to my sister, because I don't want him playing that game. It's a game with little animatronic looking stuffed animals, or like robot animals, but they're really creepy looking. Anyway, Yahuwah didn't give us the spirit of fear, but of love, power, and a sound mind. And there's so many influences, so many distractions, especially for children. Children are so easily influenced. And we need to train our children in the way they should go. And I just don't want... I want my children to grow up. Well, I want my children to be followers of the way. And I don't want them to be influenced by this world system, which I know is kind of like impossible, but all things are possible with Yahuwah. And I mean, even with the music, like, there's certain songs that, I mean, I can't even listen to. I mean, people think I'm crazy, but it's alright. That doesn't matter, because what Yah thinks is what's important. But I don't... Okay, let me give you an example. There's a song, it came out a few years ago. It was called Monster. It was Rihanna and Eminem. I can't listen to that song without just getting just a sense of, I don't know, just, ugh, I don't like it. I don't like the feeling I get. It's like, kind of like chills, call them bad chills. Another one is Katy Perry's Dark Horse, which I thought was so funny when I found out about the lawsuit or whatever over that song. And it was like a gospel singers that sued Katy Perry or whatever, her writers and whatnot, on the that, yeah. Anyway. But I can't even, no, I mean, just the lyric, I mean, most people are like, oh, I don't listen to the lyrics. I only listen to the beat. Some people are like that. Some people are like, oh, it's just a song. Oh, it's just, you can think what you want, but I recommend just, okay, if you want to really know what's going on, pray about it. Ask Yahuwah to reveal to you what's going on. He will. It may not be in the same way he revealed it to me. May not be in the same way he reveals it to others. But he will reveal it if you seek him with your whole heart. You really want to know. He'll show you. Now, yeah, I'm going a little too far. It's almost an hour. Yeah, it's pretty much an hour. So I'm going to cut off this video. And you have a blessed evening or day. And you will bless you and keep you and make his face shine upon you and be gracious unto you. And you will grant you peace. In the name of Yahushua HaMashiach. Take care. God bless.